Earlier this week, we saw a huge story drop from the Wall Street Journal talking about the Dallas Fed president, Robert Kaplan, and the millions and millions of stock purchases he had during the 2020 year. That brought up a bunch of ethical issues, but the importance, the significance, the story and opinion that I have is that this is timely in comparison to where the Federal Reserve is at in terms of the bond and stock purchases that they have, and also the interest rates decisions that'll be happening in just a few weeks' time. So we'll be going through the articles, discussing a little bit about what he had in his portfolio, and we'll also discuss some of the comments he's had in regards to where the stock market's at on a frothiness basis. But if this is your first time here, my name's Nick. Welcome to Waste of Wealth. A huge favor, a huge ask. If you learn something new or you get some value out of the video, please hit that like button for me. I would definitely appreciate that. And if you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on. I would definitely appreciate that. Earlier this week, like we mentioned before, Wall Street Journal dropped a pretty interesting article about the Dallas Fed's Robert Kaplan. He's the president, was an active buyer and seller of stocks last year. So we know already in previous videos that there's 12 regional banks, Jerome Powell being the head of all of them. We're going to be discussing some of his viewpoints on the market later, but let's just take a look at what he's got in his portfolio. So we saw that according to a financial disclosure form provided by his bank, in contrast with other regional feds, so they all have to report what they own, they saw that there was millions and millions of purchases that happened last year alone. So we see here, according to the disclosure form, the Dallas Fed, Mr. Kaplan had a total of 27 individual stock, fund, or alternative asset holdings valued at over $1 million. And we'll see a little bit in the portfolio, but it does have some pretty big names in there, and ones that, you know, a lot of people would probably be jealous of buying when he bought. So it is important to note that the Dallas Fed leader is a previous Goldman Sachs investment banker. And it is also interesting to see that the previous Dallas Fed President Richard Fisher here also had substantial assets and trading. So they're trying to make sure here that Mr. Kaplan's trading was reviewed and approved by the bank's general counsel. But we'll learn a little bit later about what happened. First things first, let's take a look at his portfolio. So we have this Schedule A form for Mr. Robert Kaplan here. And we can take a look at the value of assets is a particular area that I am of interest in. We can see here the holdings that he has. This is just an example. The Apples, the Alibabas, the Amazons, Boeing, Delta Airline. We can see here that they're all valued at over $1 million. And it seems like every single position he's in is in that over million category. So take a look at what he likes. There's some Tesla in there. There's a lot of energy, and then there's obviously some more of his passive incomes like the S&P SPY, S&P 500. So everybody got wind of this story. Everybody had an idea that you know, this guy's got over 27 million in the market, and then all of a sudden Thursday rolls around and we see Fed Presidents Kaplan, Rosengren to sell individual stock holdings to address ethics concerns. Okay. We see that they will be selling all of their stocks by September 30th and put the proceeds in passive investments, they said in a statement on Thursday. This is a particularly interesting time, and we'll talk a little bit further about why it's an interesting time. But a lot of people are saying that this is the top. This guy came in 2020, knew what the Fed was doing in terms of the money that they were printing and pushing into the economy, whether that was through buying bonds or what they eventually later did was buy individual stocks. So they were going in there and buying ETFs themselves. That brings up the ethical concern of, okay, this guy's got insider information and he's acting off of this information. And now all of a sudden the conversation is that we should stop printing money because our debt levels are getting too high. And all of a sudden now it's a problem. Now it's an ethics issue that, he's got to go in and sell all of his individual stocks. Well, what does that mean for what Jerome Powell has coming down the pipe? So we'll take a look at this article here saying that Wall Street Journal, Fed officials say it's time for tapering is nearing. An important note right now is that Kaplan has been one of the most vocal Fed presidents in regards to how frothy the market is. And we'll talk a little bit about what Kaplan had to say. He appeared on CNBC and he said he'd like to see an announcement of asset buying pullback at the September FOMC meeting, September 21st to September 22nd, only, 10 days away, with the wind down process beginning in October or to close it. He said he would like the process to be completed in roughly 8 months and reiterated he sees a first increase in near zero interest rates next year. Kaplan said asset buying was aimed at stimulating demand in the depths of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is no longer a problem. And he added he is concerned that asset buying might be doing to the market risk taking. When it comes to the impact of asset buying, we're seeing unintended side effects, excess risk taking, and particularly in the credit markets, you're seeing some distortions and excesses that I think are going to need to be normalized. Well, he brings up a valid point that the massive stimulus that the Federal Reserve has provided has definitely, impacted the markets. You can look at what the government debt is in comparison to the S&P 500, and you see that they are very parallel. I'll definitely be showing a chart of that. But what you can definitely step back and take a look and listen and see, okay, 2020, this Kaplan gentleman understands that the government is going to be pushing a mass amount of money that we've never seen before, printed into the economy. And then all of a sudden his portfolio gets released in 2021 when the conversation with the Fed is that we should stop printing money. If you're not familiar, these conversations happened back in December 2018 and the market happened to come down. So this is kind of where a lot of people are coming in and saying this is a top. This is the top of where the graph on the chart will sit for a long time. And obviously a lot of people that try and time the market want to buy at the low and sell at the top. And we know from previous videos that that's not the best thing to do, especially when you have 20 to 30 years ahead of you in the market. But this definitely brings, a couple light bulbs going off in my head in the sense of, why is this guy actually selling now? Does he know that something's going to be released in the September meeting? Are they going to be harsher than they've been in the past? So I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Is this the market top? Is this kind of what the Fed is signaling? Does he have some insider information that tapering is coming? Is the government going to start pulling back on the money that it's printing? And then that'll cause some further chaos in the market. I don't know, but it definitely is a little bit too coincidental for me. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're still with me, don't forget to hit that like button and please consider hitting that subscribe button. I hope you all have a great week in the markets. Happy trading.